majority draw, so they're just gonna have to do that shit over. I think it was a scheme so they could have a rematch anyway. You know what I mean? Like, that was the whole thing, so they could do the rematch anyway. Because you can't, you gotta beat
The rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach is now official. The New York State Athletic Commission gave its final decision about their first fight, which many people found controversial. Since then, the boxing world has been full of debates. Fans are split on whether the final decision was fair or not.
The mental breakdown of Tank, like, again, if you got that elite level, why you know what you saw. He was intimidated by Roach, and it was like baffling to see. Why was he moving? Because to me, he was intimidated by Roach. To me,
the New York State Athletic Commission decided to keep the original result of a majority draw, even though they admitted referee Steve Willis made mistakes in the 9th round. Willis started counting after a knockdown, but strangely stopped in the middle, letting Davis go back to his corner. His team then broke the rules by wiping his face before the fight continued. That mistake should have led to a disqualification, but Davis kept his undefeated record. The commission said the right call would have been a knockdown, but they defended their decision by saying the referee has the final say.
And these boys fought almost a week ago. It ain't been a week yet, but Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach, man. It was a draw. But Davis is talking about fighting again in May. Davis on.
Fans and fighters now believe that Roach was robbed of what could have been the biggest win of his career. Even Canelo Alvarez spoke out, saying he took a knee. He should have lost that round 10-8 at least. And then his corner came in and wiped his face. That's clearly a disqualification. I'm just talking about the rules. Canelo's comments reflect what a lot of people already think, that Davis got special treatment and the officials didn't want to ruin his undefeated record.
He take a knee. You need to lose like 10-8 that round at least, no? And plus the corner go up and put it a towel in the face. That's a disqualification for sure. I'm talking about the rules, but it's not my.
Roach went on social media to share how he felt, but he stayed calm. He said, "Look, I'll be real with y'all. I didn't sue anybody. My team filed an appeal for me." What kind of team would they be if they didn't stand up when they saw something wrong? They had my back, so all that lawsuit talk can stop. He posted this on X, formerly Twitter. Roach also said he didn't expect the result to be changed, but he knows the world saw what happened. "Everyone knows I won the fight, and I'm happy with that," he said.
Fighter, but on the corner too. He did tell me, he said he probably gonna come out a little harder the next round. They probably told him something. And then I guess when you go back and watch it, they did give him a little like.
Part 2 is coming, and just like that, the rematch is officially happening. The WBA didn't waste any time. They ordered an immediate rematch, and surprisingly, Davis agreed. He even said he'd be ready as early as May. But let's be real. Does he really want this fight again? The way he looked in the ring, tired and struggling against Roach's pressure, says something else. Boxing politics are clearly in play here. Davis keeping his undefeated record helps promoters and boxing organizations who make money off his name. A loss to Roach would have hurt the whole business. Ticket sales, pay-per-view numbers, and future big-money fights could all take a hit. So the big question is, did the New York Commission stand by the referee's call because they truly believed it? Or were they protecting a money-making star from taking a loss?
To be honest, I've really made it competitive, for real, to be honest. But for sure, Lamont's a great fighter. He got the skills, like I said before. He got punching power. It was a learned lesson, shout out to...
Roach knows what really happened that night, and so does Davis. No matter how cool Davis tries to act, deep down he knows he came very close to his first loss. Now he has no choice but to run it back. For Roach, it's all upside. He has nothing to lose and everything to gain. If he fights the same way but adds even more pressure, Davis might not be able to survive this time.
One. So that's why I'm yelling at the referee, like, keep counting, like, you tripping, keep counting. That's a knock then. Because if y'all didn't notice, he started to count. He started to count.
He did.
Now let's talk about Steve Willis, the referee at the center of all this drama. He's known for his over-the-top facial expressions. during fights, but now people are seriously questioning his judgment. How do you start a knockdown count, stop halfway, and then act like it never happened? And what was he thinking when he allowed Davis's corner to illegally wipe his face during the round? If Willis made these calls because he didn't know better, then he shouldn't be in charge of big fights. But if there was a deeper reason, something intentional, then boxing has a much bigger problem than just one bad decision.
Was he using the ring to set me up with certain shots or anything like that?
Davis, of course, is standing his ground. His team says he was never really hurt, that he didn't deserve to lose a point, and that Roach wasn't good enough to clearly beat him. But the video tells a different story. Davis's knee touched the ground, the ref started a count, the corner gave illegal help, and somehow Davis still left with his undefeated record. So the question is, how much more protection does he need? This rematch is going to be explosive. Roach now has even more fire. He's not just fighting for a title, he's fighting a system he believes robbed him. Davis, on the other hand, is under pressure to prove he can beat Roach clean with no controversy.
People are saying that Lamont caught him with a good, left, and then, that's why Tank went ahead and took a knee because he was just trying to spare some time. But when I really got a chance to look at it, he really rolled that punch, and if you can see...
Fans are already divided on what will happen in the rematch. Some believe Davis will come in more aggressive and try to finish Roach early to shut down the critics. Others think Roach has figured Davis out and will use even more pressure to expose his weaknesses. Some boxing pros are still backing Tank, saying it was just a bad night. Jaron "Boots" Ennis is leading that group. While the boxing world exploded over the controversial draw between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach Jr., Ennis stayed calm. He didn't buy into the outrage, conspiracy theories, or claims that Davis got special treatment. Instead, he gave both fighters credit, saying they both put on a great performance.
And really take it from him, and I feel as though that Lamont did a great job at that, and he was trying to catch and counter him and things like that, but I don't know. I think he caught Tank off guard a little bit, maybe, but the Tank wasn't really focused in the corner. He was arguing with Calvin or one of them. I don't know. It's a lot of things. We don't know what was going on in camp.
In Jaron "Boots" Ennis's eyes, the draw wasn't a robbery. It was just a great fight. He said that's the simplest way to put it. He had Davis winning 115-113, but he wasn't upset with the official decision either. That's a rare perspective in boxing, where close fights often turn into full-on controversies. Most fighters, trainers, and fans were split into two camps. Either Roach was robbed or Davis was unfairly criticized. But Ennis took a middle ground approach, respecting both fighters' performances. He said Lamont did a great job, but I just don't think he did enough to win. People are overlooking what Tank was doing in the first 5 or 6 rounds.
I happen to be a boxing fan, that the fact that I do watch him fight, you know what I'm saying? I really like boxing.
Are you open to immediate rematch?
In my contract, immediate rematch was signed. I signed for the immediate rematch when I signed for the first fight.
Right.
Just in case he lost or just in case it was a draw.
So when you got a rematch clause, how long we take?
Ennis wasn't wrong either. 2 of the official judges saw Davis controlling the early part of the fight, winning 5 out of the first 6 rounds. But because the fight ended in controversy, no one wanted to focus on that. Instead, all the attention went to the 9th round, and that's where things got messy. Davis clearly touched the canvas with his knee, and everyone knows that's supposed to count as a knockdown.
He caught me with a good shot, but it was times that I sat in there with him and I'm like, damn, this guy super slow. Well, not super slow, but he's slow, and I could have took advantage of. I think I was boxing too much in the beginning, and when I feel like...
Ennis didn't argue with that. In fact, he straight up admitted that the referee should have made the call, but even then he wasn't quick to shout foul play. He saw 2 possible reasons for what happened. 1, Davis's superstar status might have influenced the moment, or 2, the referee just froze under pressure. Anyone else, they would have called that a knockdown. I don't know what was going on, Ennis said, hinting that Davis might have received special treatment. But then, almost immediately, Ennis gave a more understanding take. He said it might have been a big moment for the referee, and maybe he didn't know what to do. Mistakes happen. Things happen. It's boxing at the end of the day.
With him, I saw the negativity and people, critics talking, but I think he's one hell of a fighter, and I think he's still the top dog.
People just don't like Tank. He looked sharp to me. People just talk, Ennis said. And that's a real point. Every time Davis fights, there's a story ready. For him. If he wins easily, people say he cherry-picks opponents. If he struggles, they call him overrated. And now, even with a draw, it felt like everyone thought he took a loss. That's the price of being a star in boxing. Fighters like Davis don't just get to win or lose. They get judged on a whole different level. The expectations are so high that even a close fight turns into a controversy. Ennis could see it for what it was. He wasn't going to pretend Davis looked bad when he clearly controlled the early rounds. But he also wasn't going to act like Roach didn't have a case for a win.
They reversed the result of your fight.
Yeah.
Should they reverse the result of that fight as well?
It just depends. Like if that changes the whole fight, if that gives Roach a victory, give him the victory. That's how you keep the integrity of the sport, right? That's why they suspended me, right? To keep the integrity of the sport. So I feel like
Then there was the confusion about the scoring. Ennis mentioned that even if the knockdown had been called, he thought the 9th round would have been scored 9-9. But that's not how the boxing scoring system works. Usually, a knockdown is scored as 10-8, unless the fighter who was knocked down dominates the rest of the round. Even though Ennis got that part wrong, his bigger point still stood. The missed knockdown wasn't necessarily why Davis avoided a loss. That's the perspective people weren't ready to hear. The truth is, even if the knockdown had been counted, Davis still had a path to victory on the scorecards. Maybe it swings the fight in Roach's favor, maybe it doesn't. But what Ennis saw was a fight that was already close before that moment, a fight with no clear winner. And no matter what, that fight needed a rematch.
He said he thought he won. I think I won. We got a draw, so it's mutual respect for each other's skill levels, and it's mutual respect for each other's will too.
But now, the rematch is happening. The New York State Athletic Commission gave their final ruling, and the WBA didn't waste any time ordering the second fight. Davis and Roach are about to go at it again, and this time, there won't be any confusion. No referee mistakes. No controversial scorecards. It'll just be a fight where one man will leave no doubt. As for Ennis, he probably won't change his stance. However, Lamont Roach has every right to feel frustrated. The New York State Athletic Commission had the chance to correct what many believe was a major mistake in his fight against Gervonta Davis, but instead, they stuck to their original decision, a majority draw.
You lost that fight. I mean, the only reason they gave you the fight was because you would make more money as a champion, but there's no way it's a draw, and they didn't call it a knockdown. If they called a knockdown,
In their statement, the commission openly admitted that referee Steve Willis made the wrong call in the 9th round when he failed to count a knockdown after Davis's knee touched the canvas. But even though they acknowledged the error, they refused to change the result. That last part is what really got people talking. Roach isn't playing the victim or begging for respect. He's focused on the rematch and already carrying himself, like the real winner. Meanwhile, Davis technically remains undefeated, but the way the fight ended has made many question whether he truly deserved to walk away without a loss. It all comes down to one moment, the 9th round. Before that, the fight was competitive, with both men having their moments.
But if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, he should be disqualified. He went back to the corner. I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warm.
Roach was aggressive, pushing the pace, while Davis showed his usual precision and power. But then came the moment that changed everything. Roach landed a flurry of punches, forcing Davis backward. As Davis tried to avoid the shots, his knee touched the canvas, a clear knockdown by the rules of boxing. This wasn't just a small mistake. It was a huge moment that could have changed the outcome of the fight. A knockdown in that round would have made it a 10-8 round for Roach, which could have shifted the scorecards in his favor. Instead, the fight continued without the knockdown being counted, and the final result was a draw.
Throw it enough. Can you describe what the feeling was like in the ring? And was it to get the towel out, to get the burn out of your eyes, or what was going on? And
I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning, and you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather.
What made the situation even worse was that the New York State Athletic Commission, NYSAC, after reviewing the footage, admitted that Willis made the wrong call. They said the most appropriate decision would have been for the referee to count the knockdown. But in the same statement, they argued that the decision was ultimately up to the referee's discretion. Since he didn't count it, they wouldn't change the result. This left many boxing fans and analysts outraged. If the commission admits a mistake was made, why not take action? Why acknowledge the error, but still let the result stand? The inconsistency in their decision only fueled conspiracy theories that Davis, being one of boxing's biggest stars, was being protected.
See that fight happening again. It just will not happen. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't like hard fights. It's that simple. We've seen it over and over. He fought a Ryan Garcia drained. He fought a very inexperienced Rolly Romero. He will not fight.
Now, even though the rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach has been confirmed, one major fight is now guaranteed to shake up boxing in a way no one expected. Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez are on a collision course, and with both men looking to make a statement, this fight might overshadow everything else happening in the lightweight and super lightweight divisions. The aftermath of Davis's controversial draw with Roach has left many questions in the air, but now, with Stevenson and Lopez being mentioned together more and more, the sport's attention is shifting toward a fight that could define an entire era. Teofimo Lopez has been vocal about his thoughts on both Davis and Stevenson. After Davis's performance against Roach, Lopez didn't hesitate to side with Tank if a fight against Stevenson were to happen.
And finally, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Gervonta Tank Davis situation. What was your assessment on his fight against Lamont Roach, and what are your thoughts on the knockdown that wasn't called in round 9?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good fight overall. Lamont, I always knew Lamont was, he wasn't.
Lopez believes that Davis's explosiveness and power would be too much for Stevenson's defensive style, but at the same time, Lopez has also been watching Stevenson closely, knowing that a potential fight with him would be just as big, if not bigger, than anything involving Davis right now. Stevenson's last fight ended with a stoppage victory, but many felt he should have finished his opponent much earlier. This has led to more debate about whether his style is effective enough against an elite pressure fighter like Lopez. With Davis focused on his rematch, the opportunity is there for Stevenson and Lopez to settle their own rivalry in the ring.
Is that the one you want next?
It's definitely the one I want next, but it's not gonna be next.
What is?
You might see it in a minute.
Lopez has always thrived when the spotlight is on him. His victory over Vasyl Lomachenko in 2020 was one of the biggest upsets in recent boxing history. Since moving up to 140 lbs, he has continued to prove himself. A fight with Stevenson would not only bring him back into the lightweight conversation, but it would also give him a chance to show that he's still the most dangerous young fighter in the sport. Stevenson, on the other hand, has been looking for an opponent who will push him to prove his dominance.
Has there been any talks with Tank's team?
They reached out, but we told them to come back with an offer. And as far as that, we ain't hear nothing since then. Me and him fighting each other, we'll seal the deal on